I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Parents, do you know what sexting is? You probably do, but just in case you don't, or you think this can't happen to you, sexting is sending nude pictures, partially nude, genitalia, or any other kinds of photos through a text. And what we have found, and this has gone on for quite a while because it has gone with both the millennials and the new Gen Zers, is that a lot of our children, preteens, teenagers, when they get their first crush, this is part of that behavior. And this is a problem. And I'll tell you why. What goes on the internet stays on the internet. Remember that permanent record we used to always talk about, and somebody said, oh, there is no permanent record. Think of the internet as being a permanent record. And we'd like to talk today about our children and how to teach your children not only about sexting, which is another uncomfortable part of teaching them about sex, and any other misuse of the internet. This is the problem because not only, like sometimes, let's make an example. Your daughter has a new boyfriend, and that boyfriend wants intimate pictures of her, and it's just going to be between the two of them. So she sends them. They break up, or maybe he's just bragging to his friends, and he sends them to his friends. Now you've got the bullying, and you've got more copies of something that she thought was intimate going throughout her school. And this could eventually follow her even to the point of jobs, if her name is attached. Not only that, if she is a minor, if she is under the age of 18, not under the age of 16, which is the age of consent in a lot of states, but if she is under the age of 18, or if he is under the age of 18, this is child pornography. She can get in trouble, but mostly he can get in trouble, and anyone else who shares these photos. But the worst part is the humiliation. And this is what we need to teach our children. Body autonomy also means being conscious of the fact that what you put on the internet can harm you because the internet is forever. And we want to talk about sexting and how to actually approach your child and let them know this is not okay. And if someone asks you to do this, and if they're pressuring you to do this, it's time for you to find another relationship. Get out of that one, because that one is also going to be pressuring you to do other things that you may not be ready for. Ladies?
Ooh, well, I think that it's really challenging, that first boyfriend, because you have the whole self-esteem and the status that comes with having a boyfriend and all of that, and it's very easy to be led to trust someone with something you think is going to be just private. The challenge that we have is that we didn't have cell phones growing up. We didn't have, where you have, a computer that everybody is carrying, a camera, a video camera, and just access to everything at your fingertips, and everyone having their own private device. We didn't have the temptation of that growing up. So I don't know if parents today really understand the magnitude of how the internet has shaped what our children are able to do without our knowledge. I mean, you can go and read their diary when they were little, and it was a written record. You can't always get to what's in their cell phone, and you don't know what they're sending and receiving and messages and all of that. You really don't know. And usually with something like sexting, it has happened, and the scenario you just described, it's happened by the time parents find out. The devastating thing has happened. The boyfriend wanted to brag to his friends or whatever, or there's a breakup, and I'll show you, I'll send this all out. The child is already devastated by what happened by the time you even understand that it has happened, and then realize it could have happened. So how do we help parents help children before it happens? To, like you said, have that uncomfortable conversation about sex, so that they understand what you put on the internet is a permanent record accessible to everybody. It's no such thing as private. Don't send your private parts any place, because they will become public.
Yes.
The rules have to be that when your child gets their first cell phone usage has developed so much more than when our kids got their first phones. I mean, phones started becoming popular when my kids were in high school. Before then, there weren't any, like you said. And so the rules about usage, about pictures, about photographing has to be set down immediately, and letting them know by giving a few examples of how people have been ruined by something they did at 16, and now they want to be a senator or a doctor or a lawyer, and they're 40, and somebody is digging up stupid stuff that you did. I remember when my kids were younger, and I told them, you know, with some of their party pictures and stuff, I said, get that stupid stuff off, because this stuff is going to follow you. And I remember one year Red Eye did a story about how someone's privacy destroyed their lives. First of all, there were like 3 stories, but I'm only going to tell you one of them because I was really impressed with how this came down. This girl needed some kind of coverage for a particular medicine that she needed for her health, and she had applied for this. Her insurance was supposed to pay for it. Well, she posts, and she was like a home because she was sick. Well, what happened, she posted a picture of herself at a party, drinking, carrying on with her friends. Somehow her insurance company got wind of this and felt like she was well enough to party. She is not sick enough for us to pay for this medication. She can pay for it herself. And it became a court battle, and I don't remember what was the outcome, but something she did that was foolish, posting her behavior, cost her her medical coverage.
Well, I think that definitely is a good example, you know, people realizing, and because, you know, everybody gets on Facebook and they want to do Facebook Live. Oh, here I'm at so-and-so, I'm at so-and-so. And sometimes not realizing, you know, you played hooky from work, school, and you're somewhere you don't have no business. You know, all those kind of things to think about, because, you know, people just have gotten to everything on the internet. They don't realize everything doesn't need to be on the internet, especially private business.
Well, this is the problem, is that everybody with Instagram, I mean, I post on Instagram quite a bit. You know, I post political things. I'll post when it's snowing outside in March. I'll post all kinds of stories, some of them funny, some of them serious, you know. But the thing is that we all have that narcissism, I suppose, to where we want to document our lives at some point. You know, some people, they're constantly, every time they go out and have a dinner, they have to post all the food, and where they're going. And that's fine for the restaurant if it's good food. If it's bad food, maybe not so much. But the thing is that these are innocent compared to you taking a nice topless shot because you just got your boobs lifted, and and you sending it to maybe even you're just sending it to some friends and they're just sending it around. But the thing is that it becomes hacked. Or maybe this is at the time of your life, like that time is past for me, where you had a really good shape. And maybe this was something that you wanted to document because you knew, age doesn't love us all. So, but the thing is that if you put this anywhere on the internet, somebody can hack it. We've had celebrities who've had their phones hacked, and then you have nude pictures of them that they thought that were private. There is no private in when you are talking electronics.
Right.
And the problem with sexting is that it happens with young people. It happens with people who should know a little bit better. But the problem with that is that it can be used for all kinds of things: humiliation, revenge porn, or what they call it. And the problem is that the laws have not kept up with the technology.
Right.
The laws are still behind, and we still are trying to figure out what's private, what's free speech, what's damage, what's hate speech, what's this, what's that, what's inciting. So we are still in the infancy as far as trying to discern between free speech, censorship, and that whole thing about not yelling fire in a crowded theater. So when you're talking about putting what you think is private to someone, you could say, okay, I'm just sending it to this one person. And maybe that one person, send it to somebody else, or maybe like the kids used to do Snapchat, and some of them still do, because that happens just like that. It disappears in like 10, 12 seconds. But if somebody takes a screenshot of that, that goes out there. We've actually had people who've done like racist things, and they send it to a friend on Snapchat. That friend, screenshot it, put it up there. They lose their scholarship. They are asked to leave their school. That happened at K-State right before Sarah came. And I remember thinking, is this, and I wrote, somebody says, is this what you all want? Is this what this school represents?
Ooh.
That person who said she had put a charcoal mask and in a racist
funny,
trying to be funny, and she ended up leaving the school, or being asked to leave the school. And these kind of things happen. Well, all of these stupid decisions that our children are making have consequences.
Yeah.
And that's why I say free speech isn't free from consequences.
Absolutely.
And there are long-term consequences with a media.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that happens also is sometimes if you think you're sending something privately and you accidentally send it to a group text, because you know how sometimes you have a group
reply all.
And you know, you can send it to 20 people. So that can happen easily. And so just because you think you're sending something that's going to be private doesn't mean it's going to end up private, even if somebody accidentally sends it to a bunch of people. So it can get out all kind of ways. But the thing about it is to not send out anything that you wouldn't want to be widely known. So I'm thinking, you know, there's an age in which you have to tell your children. I have that, just like we talked about how to have that conversation about sex. I think when you give them their first cell phone or they first sit down on the computer, you got
no naked pictures.
Yep.
Yeah, that's straight up.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't look for any on the internet, because all of that's traceable. And we've known stories of people who got curious about internet porn, and then they lost their positions because people found out that's what they were looking for. And even though you might think, well, it's my own private business, but no one wants to feel like they can trust you if you're into pornography, because just that has certain connotations, and people feel like, okay, is this a possible child molester? And like you said, if you're looking at somebody who's underage, that's child pornography. So it's all those kind of things. So how do you have that conversation?
The wrong kind of people when you are sexting people. What kind of, we're going back to what we talked about in having good relationships. A relationship has to be based on other things than the physical. By the time that you get to the physical part of a relationship, you have established whether you know this person, can trust this person, can be with this person. Someone who's asking you for intimate pictures of yourself, they are not a good, safe person.
So at what age do you have that conversation? 12, 13, 14, 11, 10? When do you have
get on the phone?
I would say, yeah, because I believe Sarah got her first phone around 10.
Okay.
And she may have been a little young, but I'm thinking she was 10. And the reason why she got her first phone was because she used to go with friends who didn't. We used to take our neighbor's child with us, and she was a little older. But her family, she spoke English, but her family did not. And yet we couldn't say, well, no, you can't go with them because they don't speak English. So what we did, we got Sarah a phone because they said if there was ever anything happen, that she should be able to contact us. And that was fine. I mean, we trusted them. They just were not English speakers. So I think by the time you get the phone, before you get the phone, you have to teach them responsibility. You have to teach them that this is not a toy. This is a computer. This opens up the world to places that you do not need to be in. And if we find out that you are doing something with this phone that we do not approve of, it will be taken away, period. And you have to say that by the time they're 9, 10, they should have already gotten some of those first sex talks anyway. So you have to also tell them that. And at that point, they're still going to be going, ew, which is good. Because by the time they get to that age where they're starting to develop and somebody's saying, I want to see it, there's going to still be that, ew, I don't want to do this. So the earlier, the better, I say.
Now, and follow up on your discipline. Say, I'm going to take your phone away for 2 weeks and they're going to die when they don't have it for 5 minutes. But you need to stick by your guns. Too many times parents will say stuff to their kids, I'm going to do this to you, and then they don't do it. Don't make an impossible discipline. Don't say you're grounded for a year. You're not going to keep anybody in their room for a year, but you need to
unless it's COVID.
Yes, but tell them what is going to be the consequences of not following the rules and standards that you have set down. And then, being a kid, they're going to see if you're really going to do it, really do it.
Yeah.
I want to mention something that I think may be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. Keep access to your kid's phone. For one thing, you're probably paying for it, which means it's yours.
Yeah.
So there are apps that will actually monitor your kid's phone. But also say, you know what? I keep your phone and I keep your passwords. You don't have it in your room using it as an alarm clock because you're going to be on it all day long and all night long and all of this other kind of stuff. Some of the rules apply, even though the technology has gone past what we're used to. And the thing is that they don't need the phone in their room all the time when they're that age, unless they, and unfortunately with, the pandemic, a lot of them, they have to use it for work or they have to use it for school. And that's problematic. But when they're just getting the phone and they're just getting used to this power that they have with that, you have to remind them, I pay for this phone. This is the phone I'm allowing you to use. It is not your phone. Yeah. If I see any inappropriate pictures on it, if I see any inappropriate text on it, any of these kinds of things, you no longer have a phone. Do you understand? Because, and then, even if whether you follow through as far as checking it periodically or not, And maybe you should, when you first get it, say, let me see your phone. And if they start getting secretive, well, wait a minute.
So how do you establish, because we talked about ethics and being trustworthy as a child, but then also having trust as a parent, where I trust you enough to make ethical decisions and not that I'm looking behind you and going through your things. Because I think, I mean, it's necessary for you to look in their things, but how do you get a balance where there's trust, where they don't feel like they're being snooped on? Or, because I mean, if they're going to be dishonest, they just find more clever,
they'll find better ways.
So,
well, that's what I say. Whether or not you actually check up on their phone or get one of those apps that makes that you can monitor it without them knowing, whatever you decide to do. But the thing is that when they get to the point where you feel like, you know what, there's something wrong, and you have to kind of tell. You can kind of tell when your kid starts to get secretive, then it's more than just them wanting a little bit of privacy. They're always in their phone, and they got to take their phone to the bathroom, and they can't like put their phone down or anything. You have to start wondering, what is it on your phone that you like go, have to pull a nutty every time somebody picks up your phone.
Yeah, don't look at it.
So and you just have to say, listen, I'm going to trust you until you give me reason not to. But then if I ever give me reason not to, you're going to have to build back that trust yourself. You have to put that on them, because they are going to do things, and all our kids have probably done things that we weren't aware of, because we all did things that our parents weren't aware of.
Right.
But what we're trying to do
is out now.
Yes.
But what we need to do is make sure that they are not doing things that are going to put them in danger. They're not going to be sexting with some 40-year-old guy and later running away and meeting him in a hotel somewhere, because that does happen.
Yeah, that's part of the sex trafficking.
That's part of the trafficking. That's exactly right. And it maybe they met somebody online and they think he's a 14-year-old because they're 13 and he's 40. So, there's all these kinds of things. So you have to say, look, and when you give them the phone, at sometimes I'm going to ask to look at your phone. And if there's something on there that shouldn't be on there, you and I are going to have a problem. Now, at that point, maybe they'll just fear that you're going to look at their phone, and maybe you never really have to. But
don't be afraid to anytime.
Don't be afraid to.
Well, I guess my question is, how do you teach them the ethics so that it's the understanding they have on the inside of them not to do things? This stuff like, at what age did you tell them about sex trafficking and people leaving you on the internet pretending to be somebody your age and they're really 40-year-old pervert? I mean, do you tell them all those things when you give them the phone at 10 years old? Is that when they have that?
I think
show the movie Taken and say your father doesn't have any special skills like Liam Neeson.
No, you know what you tell them? The same thing with Facebook when you're 13 or something is when you're supposed to go on Facebook, and a lot of kids get on there earlier because they just lie on their age because they can do simple math. You tell them, do not give your number to people that you don't know. Do not, communicate with people that you don't know, as in you can do better than pick them up out of the lineup. The same way with your kids, because when they're young, when they're 10 years old and they're getting their first phone, they want to give their number to all their friends, and that's fine. That's one thing. You should also have their friend's number, and you should also have their friend's parents' number.
Yes.
So that when something happens, you can call them, because a lot of times parents just don't know. As they get older, you're going to loosen those reins a little bit. You may not know all their friends when they go away to high school, because they've got hundreds of friends, but you still have to say, you will not communicate with someone that you do not know. If someone says, this is my friend so-and-so, or my friend of my friend, Google does a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you need to also let them know, this is a computer and this opens your world. And you have to be careful, because there are bad people out there and you do not want to know them. So do not put yourself in the situation. But on the other hand, if you get into a situation and you're scared, I'll just be mad, but I will help you. I'll be mad and I'll yell about it, and you may get grounded for a few days, but somebody else could seriously hurt you. So if you are in a situation where you have done something, if you sexted your boyfriend and all of a sudden it's out there and you're so ashamed you can't tell me, you come tell me anyway, because then boyfriend has to deal with mama.
Ooh, that's scary. Well, we gotta go, but we want to give our listening audience, our viewing audience, a chance to weigh in on what they think about this. At what age do you give your child a phone? At what age do you have that conversation about the hazards and sex trafficking and not sending nude pictures of yourself? At what age do you warn them of what could happen if you, in fact, put something on that permanent record of the internet, a photo of yourself that you would not want a future employer or even a school administrator to see? So at what age should you have that conversation, and how explicit do you need to be, and how often should you monitor what's on their phone?
And there are enough examples for you to be able to pull from them and say, this is what happened to this person when they did what I'm telling you not to do.
Yes. And I guess what they need to realize is that you can't take it back once it's out there. So if you put something out there on the internet, then that's it. So maybe if they can think twice about what they choose to share with people who may not be their friends, that might make them think twice. Well, we just want to teach our children good discernment and good decision-making skills. So we've got to go. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We are 3 Black moms.
And we will see you next time.